Welcome to the Total Soccer Show Weekend Review. Things aren't going well for Liverpool and Arne Slot, who gave Moises Caicedo all the time he needed for his impressive shot. The Reds should get out of this funk, but maybe that's depending on whether Isak and Salah will try to do any defending. In Spain, Barcelona didn't look too clever when they went to Seville and couldn't pull any levers. In Italy, we were expecting Juve and Milan to show excitement and passion and grit. But in the end, we got a game that was a bit short of expectations. And in Germany, there was absolutely no surprise when Harry Kane's goal tally increased in size. My name's Ryan Bailey. Joining me today, hello, Taylor Rockwell.
Was that our fault for expecting Milan Juve to be bad? Or to be good, and then it finished 0-0 the exact way we thought it would have finished a few years ago? On the one hand, Serie A has been action-packed and very fun and lots of goals, and I don't want to just go straight into the stereotype. But that was definitely a stereotypical, top-of-the-table Serie A clash for me.
Yeah, I think you're quite right, Taylor. I specifically take blame for that, for in the weekender saying, this one's got goals in it. You know, Allegri, you don't think it's got goals in it, but it's got goals in it. And it didn't. It was like that 0-0. Was it last season or the season before? It was another dreadful 0-0.
You'd never guess that these two teams have been coached by Max Allegri in the past 12 months. Both of them.
Yeah.
Ryan.
Tudor, Allegri, they got us. They got us, Graham Ruthven. How are you?
I'm very well. Did you have a good weekend watching all the other games that we said were going to be good in the weekender? Porto Benfica, also 0-0. Club Brugge Union Saint-Gilloise, 1-0. There was one goal in that.
I knew it would get in there.
You watched them all, right?
I definitely watched Union Saint-Gilloise, and that result you just mentioned, Graham, I did. Yeah, I enjoyed it very much.
Graham wanted to dedicate the first and second blocks of this show to that result. I want listeners to know, and Ryan had to talk him off that ledge.
We need to charge for that. That's kept for the Patreon, I think. That's premium content right there, along with Blackpool 0, AFC Wimbledon 2. The run continues.
It does indeed.
The Wimbers of Wombers. But that was Steve Bruce, poor Steve Bruce, the bacon lover himself, sacked after that game. So that's on you and your team, Ryan Bailey.
Hang on, slow down. The bacon lover, aren't we all bacon lovers if we are a meat
Well,
eater?
let's not start that debate again.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. Ryan likes inferior bacon, and then most other people like good bacon, I think is how it works.
I thought Steve Bruce was better known as a novelist. He's written some books about, I think they're called Striker. And
Yeah,
about
that's right. Yeah.
a Steve
He also
Bruce
likes bacon.
Striker.
Yeah.
Very good. Very good.
Ryan, I have an important topical question for you. The house across the cul-de-sac from me has a repairman over today, and the truck is labeled Southern Goodman. That's definitely Saul Goodman in disguise, right? That's his latest alias. I feel like that has to be what's happening here.
Does it have satellite dishes in it and people in suits keep getting out the back of it, Taylor? Because if it is, then I've got some other news for you.
It's very, very troubling. Very troubling.
All right. We more developments on that when they come, listener. But for now, patreon.com/Total Soccer Show is the best way to support this endeavour. Thank you to everybody who does so. Those who do so get bonus episodes, including, but not limited to, Weekend Review Extra. All the weekend goodness we can't get in this episode goes into Weekend Review Extra, so check it out there. Also, bonus video content on our Patreon as well, and access to our Discord server, where all the cool kids are hanging out. Do join us in there. Lots happening, particularly I'm going to have to add a post to the aviary, the birds Discord, because a bird, just before we started recording, flew into my window. It was slightly traumatic for everyone involved, especially the bird.
That's right, listener. There is actually a bird watching channel within the TXS Discord. It's an eclectic collection of different discussions in there. You should join.
I feel like we're really showing off the elder millennial status of the majority of the Discord right there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Come join us. Come join us with our aviaries and Yeti coolers and all the other things we have in our disposition. Patreon.com/Total Soccer Show, please. And thank you. Let's get to the weekend action, though, shall we? Why don't we start off in the Premier League and specifically at Stamford Bridge? Chelsea 2, Liverpool 1. The aforementioned Moises Caicedo giving Chelsea the lead with that thunderbolt of a strike where he had quite a lot of space. Cody Gakpo pouncing on that Isak touch to equalise after the break, and then the moment belonging to Brazilian teenager Estevão Willian firing home the stoppage time winner for the hosts. This, Graham, a third successive defeat for Liverpool, 9 goals conceded in their first 7 games. That is 7 more goals than at this point last season. Let's not take anything away from a great win for Chelsea, but perhaps we do start with Liverpool being the headline here, and the issues they are having and that are continuing. They were winning games by a hair's breadth at the end, and now they're losing games by a hair's breadth at the end. That is not good.
Yeah, it felt like a big game for both teams, right? They've both been in a fragile moment in their season over the last couple of weeks. As you say, for Liverpool, Ryan, 3 defeats in a week. And actually, the concerning thing for me is not really the results. That's obviously part of it. But each of those 3 results, like an away game, 3 away games actually, all 3 of them away from home, against Palace, Galatasaray and Chelsea. It is not beyond reason that Liverpool could lose those games in isolation. The concerning thing is that the same things are showing up in pretty much every game that they're playing right now, the same weaknesses. They've been so sloppy recently, continue to be very open in defensive transition, like they were for the winning Chelsea goal right at the end. And I think the international break has come at a good time for Liverpool because they've got some things to solve, and Arne Slot is struggling to come up with solutions. I mean, I presume we'll go into this in more depth in a little bit, but the right back position is a complete mess for Liverpool right now, and it seems like Slot doesn't know what to do. He's rifled through 3 different options in 3 games in that position. Conor Bradley, Dominic Szoboszlai, Jeremy Frimpong, who now seems to be seen as a right winger and not much of a viable option on the right side of the defence. So there are multiple issues that Liverpool have right now, and they once again came to the fore in this game.
Yeah, and I would say the right back issues are themselves an issue. I would say they are exacerbated by the person ahead of that right back who not really interested in doing any defending in this game. That would be Mohamed Salah, and that has been a consistent point this season for them. I will say up front, like, this feels like a game that last season Liverpool win and find a way to win, and it's another one, sort of another notch in the belt of like, here we go, they're figuring it out, nobody can get past them, they always find a way to win. This time round, I was really surprised that Chelsea ended up turning it around and getting the win because they themselves are very injury bare, and you have both of their backup center backs, or at least one of their backup center backs and one starter, subbed off in the second half. They finished without either Badiashile or Achampong, but that is not the talking point of the way the backline's finished, because you have 2 central midfielders playing in the backline for Liverpool at the end, and there's a feeling that Arne Slot is having to kind of chop and change and try to figure out his best 11, and yet still hasn't quite figured out how to make it all work. Mohamed Salah is not interested in tracking back or doing defensive work, and I would say at the very least the winning goal comes from that lack of effort. And so I think there are myriad issues for him to figure out, which was maybe always expected. Maybe this is the kind of rebuild and blip that we saw coming after Klopp stepped down and Slot came in. And maybe there was enough planning that it forestalled the situation until now. But as Graham said, it's the international break. It comes at a really good time. It gives them a couple weeks to kind of, or at least 1 week, to figure things out ahead of the Manchester United game at home, not on the road. So maybe they turn it around there.
Yeah, this is kind of the season, or what we've seen from Liverpool so far. It's kind of what I expected from last season in terms of like a transitional season after Klopp, which obviously I called and multiple people called wrong on what to expect from Liverpool last season. The balance just seems off of the team. Players aren't quite, a lot of the time it feels like round pegs and square holes, or whatever the saying is. And so that has been surprising, because coming into this season I just thought we would see Liverpool be a more complete team than they've shown so far this season. Salah's a really interesting case study because he's dropped off pretty majorly, both in terms of his work rate, which I never really associated that with Mohamed Salah. He was already given some freedom in that respect, but in this game it felt like he had opportunities to do the Salah finish, right, and cut inside off the right wing and bend it into the top corner, and his radar is just badly off right now, and he's not really hugely involved in games right now. And then just in terms of the work rate as a whole, like I kind of wonder how much of Liverpool's lack of pressing and closing down work rate from the forwards is down to Luis Diaz leaving in the summer, because that was one of the things that he did so well, is his relentless pressing and just relentless energy. And it was a big issue in this game because Chelsea were having so many overloads in the final third, and that was just because there were Chelsea players running past Liverpool players in the midfield and into the box. And we saw that for the winning goal, where, yes, my boy Andy Robertson maybe could do a little bit more at the back post, but the reason that he is for a moment taking a break and sort of like with his hands on his knees, he's clearly out of puff, is because he was involved in a counter-attack going to the other end of the pitch. He then runs past Cody Gakpo to try and get back into the box, where Gakpo surely should be busting a gut to get back in that situation to cover Estevao at the back post. So yeah, I think that's definitely a question for Liverpool. Is this a physical drop-off like we saw from Man City last season, or is this just like a pure question of work ethic and like mentality?
It might sound, sorry Ryan, like quibbling with the details there. I hear you on the sprint back from Robertson, Graham. It's still really strange to have your hands on your they're on his knees, right?
Oh, you could definitely do more.
And it's you do that when there's a stoppage in play. If you are really that tired, maybe if it goes out for a throw, if it goes out for a goal kick, if there's a substitution, whatever it might be. But that play is live, and with how electric Chelsea can be and were at times in this game, it is really surprising to me because once you have your hands on your knees like that and that ball is driven in, you're never going to be able to react to it. It also feels like he wasn't fully aware, and that's not really trying to point the blame just at Andy Robertson, but it speaks to a larger confusion I have around this Liverpool team, which is that everybody seems to be switching off in very strange moments and in very uncharacteristic moments for a lot of these players. It just feels like some of that intensity has dipped, and now they get to figure it out in the break.
So, Taylor, that's the question I had then. How do we think Liverpool turn it around from this point? Because last season, we didn't expect Liverpool had any right to do as well as they did, right? The stars aligned for them, didn't they? This season, they've had quite a lot of turnaround in the actual squad itself. They've got a lot of new faces, a lot of people to incorporate into this team.
Turnaround or turnover?
Both?
Okay.
Why not both? You know what I mean. But they've had Luis Diaz leave. Perhaps most importantly, they've had one of their best players pass away.
We should mention that.
Yeah, that's got to have a psychological effect on this team in itself. I mean, so this is a very different team to what it was last year. So I'm not sure where where this team turns itself around because it's not quite the same machine it was last year. If that makes sense.
It does make sense. And to his credit, Virgil van Dijk, ever the leader, kind of mentioned that in the postgame, that basically last season we started on a high, we were all very optimistic, and we went into the season with this feeling of positivity and new beginnings. This season, obviously, we are starting from a much more down perspective, having lost Diogo Jota in the preseason, and the squad is, by all accounts, still impacted by that, as well they should be, as well they are right to be. But then you have all those new faces you mentioned, Ryan, coming in to sort of help break down bunkered defenses or theoretically break down teams that were defending deeper. But I think in some ways it's led to the old FIFA career mode problem. I've talked about it before, of you sign too many players and suddenly you don't really know how to fit them all in, and there starts to be discontent, and you don't really know how to get the best out of them, and you're sort of swapping players around, and Szoboszlai is starting as a central attacking midfielder and finishing as a right back, and Gravenberch is starting as a midfielder and finishing as a center back, and you've just got a lot of rotation, I think, that kind of limits consistency, and you need that consistency to build chemistry and camaraderie to then have the results that we know Liverpool can have. So I still think that they will be fine. I think this is more of a blip than a crisis or anything like it, but it is always worth noting that there are extenuating circumstances off the pitch that certainly factor onto it.
Yeah, there's definitely a human angle to this. And Graham, coming back to Salah as well, how we mentioned sort of not quite doing the work on the defensive side. When you've got one player, a luxury player who doesn't do that, there's lots of top teams who do that. When you've got two, when you've got Isak who doesn't do that either, you kind of 20% of your outfield team not doing anything on the defensive side of the ball, right? So that's something that has to be addressed by Arne Slot, surely.
And that is the antithesis of what Klopp favoured when he was Liverpool manager, where you would have so much energy across that front line, where they would counter-press, obviously, when the ball high up the pitch, and that's not really happening for Liverpool at the moment. I think Cody Gakpo also deserves to be dug out slightly for his lack of work ethic, and I do wonder if ultimately we start to see, you asked, Ryan, what could they change? I don't think this fixes all of the problems, or even the majority of the problems, but I do wonder if we might see Florian Wirtz come out to the left side of that front three. Cody Gakpo drops out, and maybe Dominic Szoboszlai moves into the central position, which obviously he started in this game here. I just think between Szoboszlai and Wirtz, they maybe have a little bit more against the ball than Liverpool have right now. The Alexander Isak one is interesting because, look, it's early days for a player that last season at times I thought was the best centre forward in the Premier League. Would Liverpool have been better served spending that money on another central defender? At this point, you would have to say for the balance of the squad, yes, they would have been. So I'm interested to see how that pans out, because it still feels a little bit awkward trying to fit Alexander Isak into this front line, because as you say, Ryan, he has a bit of a luxury player, and what a luxury player he is. But having one in Salah is one thing, having two is something altogether.
Definitely. I'm still confused about the Frimpong nature of all of this, because there is a world in which Liverpool start strong, and you have Frimpong being the sort of rotation option at right back, but also at right wing, and challenging Salah for more time, and If you think of like Salah maybe getting a little bit older, maybe he's not able to do as much running, maybe he's not able to be as dialed in for the full 90, you would assume then that like Frimpong can start challenging him for that spot and can become the starter, and then Salah can get spot starts or be the 30-minute cameo man. But in these last 3 games, it's been Salah starting and playing the full 90. Then it's Frimpong starting against Galatasaray and playing 60 or so minutes before Salah comes on. That's obviously not a win. And now it's Salah again for the entirety of this game. It doesn't seem like Frimpong is going to supplant him anytime soon, but it also doesn't seem like Salah is able to do what he needs to do to make this team function as well as it has in the past. So it's another issue that they get to try to kind of iron out and figure out. I am still just shocked because I thought the Frimpong signing would be one of the smartest of the season. I know my co-hosts disagreed. Turns out they were right and I was wrong thus far.
Well, I mean, it's still early days, and the thing is, Jeremy Frimpong is a cracking player.
Yeah.
Like, I'm a big fan of Jeremy Frimpong, but it's just such a drastically different role that Alexander Arnold played for Liverpool, right? And so when we're talking about Salah not looking the same, well, I think he hasn't got the same service behind him, and that player is moving in a different. Even Conor Bradley, who starts this game, and I thought had a really rough one. He seems to have regressed quite badly, Conor Bradley, since he broke into this Liverpool team a couple seasons ago and looked really impressive. I thought Alejandro Garnacho had him on toast for large periods of this game.
But isn't, Graham, sorry to step on your point. I'm just like, but isn't a lot of that he has no help in front of him? Like the yellow card he has to give up, I feel like is because Salah is overcommitted and now there's an overload and Bradley has to just kind of like make a decision and he ends up.
Yeah, totally.
Like, and so to me, it feels like he's kind of hung out to dry. You're right that he hasn't looked great, but it's like hard for me to say like Salah's a problem, but also that was Bradley's fault.
Yeah, and it looked like, to your point, Taylor, it looked like Conor Bradley was struggling to work out whether he was to jump onto Cucurella or to stay onto Garnacho. What I would say about that is we used to criticise, I'm talking using the general we here, not us specifically, but Alexander Arnold used to get criticised for those moments all the time. And so I guess that role for Liverpool is you need to be good at defending open space, and Conor Bradley hasn't been good at doing that recently and certainly wasn't in this game and gets taken off, not for the first time in recent games either. So yeah, it just feels like all over the pitch, it just feels like the balance of Liverpool isn't quite there yet.
Yeah.
Did he pick up a yellow? I swear he picked up a yellow, but now I'm not seeing it. I thought he picked up a yellow right at the end of the first half.
Yeah, Conor Bradley.
Yeah.
Yeah, he got a yellow.
Okay,
yeah.
all right, cool. Cool.
Yep. Maresca got a card, didn't he? He was loving it at the end.
Yes, he did.
And we should probably finish up on this game with a note on Chelsea, which was, Taylor, a good win for them. I think they deserved it, certainly that second half, that last sort of 15, 20 minutes where they were going forward. It was impressive stuff from them. But I still don't get this Chelsea team because it's clear there's not a clear starting 11 at this point, right? There's lots of bits coming in and out of this team. And like they make a lot of careless mistakes. They can turn up for massive games like this, and then they can poop the bed in other ones. Basically, it's an interesting concoction, this Chelsea experiment at this point.
I mean, some of that you could say is the extensive injury list when you've got Colwell, Adarabio, Chalobah suspended, Fofana out, Andre Santos injured, Cole Palmer injured, Liam Delap obviously injured. You've got plenty of injuries there, so there is that same. Can you have the consistency? Can you have everybody show up every single game when you're not entirely sure who's going to be fit and ready to go? But I also think that there's just an element of like fight that makes up for that, and Chelsea seem to have a good bit of scrap to them. Enzo Fernandez models that expertly in this game. I thought Garnacho in stretches looked very confident and aggressive in his dribbling, which I think was maybe something he overly relied on with Manchester United. It feels like he's being backed with Chelsea to go for it, but then he has Cucurella making those overlapping runs and not being tracked back and just sort of going for it and throwing bodies forward and trying to make things happen. And there is certainly a chaotic energy to this Chelsea team, but it tends to be, at the very least, an entertaining chaotic energy. And I guess you can afford that when you have Moises Caicedo, who does everything in this game. He scores the goal and made Liverpool's defense run away from him at the same time, as Ryan alluded to in the introduction. But he is making timely tackles. He is making timely interventions and recoveries. He is carrying out of pressure. He is passing out of pressure. He did so much for Chelsea in this game. He was immense at both ends of the pitch and deserves so much credit, not just for the goal, but for the overall performance.
Yeah, this might have been Caicedo's best performance for Chelsea. And he's been getting better and better all through 2025. I can't quite remember the context of the discussion, but I remember vouching for Caicedo like a month ago and saying that he's like a world-class player for Chelsea, and I completely
he
stand
should be
by
40
that.
cost, to be fair, Graham.
I know, well, true, £115 million, but he doesn't decide that, right? That's just the Brighton tax. But it's working out pretty well for him and Chelsea right now. And obviously the goal is an absolute rocket into the top corner. Yes, okay, Liverpool give him a lot of space, but he still has to batter it past Mamardashvili at whatever rate of knots it was into the top corner. But he's just such a good two-way midfielder, right? And he gives Chelsea protection in front of the defence. He knows when to step out. He's really intelligent with that, when to intervene and disrupt opposition moves. And then he can get on the turn and carry the ball forward. And I think his passing has improved a lot under Enzo Maresca. So he's very much looking like the £115 million player that Chelsea wanted him to be.
There we go. All right, let's take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to go to Italy and look at Christian Pulisic's penalty attempt and much more. Join us then. Total Soccer Show, welcome back to the weekend review. Let's take ourselves to Turin, shall we? As a further apology, I did say that this game had goals in it, Juventus Milan. It turned out to be 0-0. But there is plenty of interesting stuff, Graham, to say about this game. We had Pulisic up in that sort of top two in the 3-5-2 for Milan, but quite a bad penalty miss as well when he got the opportunity to put one on frame. This was a game I think is defined by wasted opportunities, not just that penalty, but there were a few from both sides in open play as well. I think Jonathan David and Jimenez had a couple where they could have put one in the net but didn't.
Leao has one as well.
Yeah, Leao has a couple. Yeah. There's the Getty save, he didn't save, but the Getty chance that Magnon saves as well, which is one of the best saves that I've seen so far this season. It's absolutely incredible. But yeah, generally speaking, not the most thrilling match that I've watched, which was disappointing because I agree with what you said on Friday, Ryan. I thought this had the potential to be an interesting game. I just got the sense that as the match went on, both teams were relatively content with a point. Milan at least showed some attacking intent in moments. They were the team that I thought tried to impose themselves the most on this game, and obviously they would have taken the points had Pulisic not put his penalty over the bar, as he did. But for Juve, I just thought the lack of ambition generally, especially in that second half, was pretty stark. And I thought their approach was summed up by the very last 30-45 seconds of this game. When they have the ball, one last chance, we all know the routine, home crowd cheer or pushing Juve on. You know how it goes, you lump it forward or you get it out wide, you get one last cross into the box just to see if something happens. Juve did not do that, they just kept possession deep until the final whistle. And that's sort of how this match went for large periods.
But also, at the same time, it didn't seem like you can tell when a team is just sort of going like, okay, we're fine with the draw, we're not really trying to rush this. There was an element in that final minute, Graham, where they did seem Juve like they were trying to get it forward and just were incapable of it. I can't. No, I'm gonna pass it back. Okay, but quickly, reshuffle it to the other side. I'm gonna play it back. It was a strange level of like energetic speed and then malaise simultaneously, which is maybe this game in a nutshell. I did not enjoy it. I was struggling to keep an eye on it. I'm not going to lie. Part of that was because I watched it with two under 5 aged children surrounding me. But it was also the Pulisic miss that made me not enjoy this one fully. It's a pretty horrific penalty. Graham, what was worse, the Salah cut inside and shot that went out for almost a throw-in, or the Pulisic penalty? The Pulisic penalty? Okay.
The Pulisic penalty, I think, yeah. I mean, he just... What he's trying to put it in top bins, right? That's what he's just leaned back too high and
which I would say is it's a mistake because it means, in my mind at least, it means you overthought it. I think if you're going to go for that, but you don't you can see that he adjusts his body and he's really aiming for it and not really just kind of trusting himself to finish it well. It didn't feel as decisive and confident as you would like to see. And I think that's especially frustrating because I thought he otherwise was pretty strong in this game. Not that anybody looked world-class necessarily throughout, but I thought he did a lot of interesting things. I thought he led the press at times. I thought he kind of dropped a little bit deeper defensively at times. Certainly good on the ball, certainly good in possession, very mobile in the attacking third, and it felt like cleared out a lot of space for then Luka Modric to occupy and drive into with the ball. And my favorite moment, I forget what minute it was. I'll have to go back and look. 66th minute. It's after Leao has subbed on, and they're moving back. Milan are transitioning to defense, and the camera's kind of like widens out, and you see that Leao and Pulisic, that front two in that 3-5-2, are coming back, and Leao is in the exact, like almost the exact same space as Pulisic. And you see Pulisic say, like, hey, you need to be over there, you need to be over there, you need to be over there. And he gives him, it's like the person at the four-way stop who doesn't go after you tell them to go, and you give them a few of the goes, and then you lose your mind. Pulisic truly starts screaming at Leao, like, go! And it was amazing to watch Leao just kind of look at him and then be like, okay, and jog over. And in that moment, I understood why Rafael Leao is maybe not starting from
with
Milan
a big smile,
Allegri.
big grin on his face.
That was a telling moment to me that he did not understand his defensive responsibility, and then suddenly to be like, oh no, it's not that he doesn't understand, it's just that he's not really bothered with doing what he needs to do, and it allowed Juve to kind of bypass what Milan were trying to do. So I enjoyed Pulisic even after that penalty, still having the wherewithal to scream at a teammate for not being in thetheir defensive position where they needed to be. I mean that sincerely. It means he's kind of locked in and not overly focused on himself, but focusing on what the team needs to be doing.
And talking about him locked in, immediately after the penalty, he has maybe his best moment of the game where he drives inside off the left off the left wing and has that shot. And maybe it might have been the better option to is it Jimenez that's peeled away off to the right? That might have been the better pass. And he was maybe trying to make amends at that point. But nonetheless, he was still one of the few Milan players, or one of the few players on this pitch that was trying to make things happen.
Graham, a question for you. Like, I struggle with these types of games to decide, like, is this I don't want to, like, if I say tactical masterclass, that will sound ridiculous. But, like, was this the tactics of the two managers coming to bear on a game that could have been engaging otherwise? Or did this reveal maybe a lack of that, like, next level creative attacking ability that these teams both maybe need?
Could I just jump in, and I might colour Graham's opinion here, but like, if it was a tactical masterclass, if that is the correct answer, I think it's completely unacceptable for in Game 6 for that to be your tactics. If this was Game 28 and you're trying to get into the European places and you're being conservative as Juve were, as Graham outlined earlier, fine. Game 6, you're at home, go for it a bit more.
Yeah. You absolutely on Juve's side of things. I don't think it was a tactical masterclass because I didn't really see much sort of like, it wasn't like the game state changed dramatically and managers were doing interesting things. I mean, if anything, the changes that Tudor makes in the second half completely nullified the slim threat that Juve had in this game, where he puts on Vlahovic and Openda. And at that point, I'm sort of half watching this game at this point, to be honest. But I'm thinking to myself, oh, they're going for it. Two strikers going on, and then I realised actually this has completely nullified Juve's threat because he took off Conceição, who I thought was pretty lively down the right side, certainly in the first half with his willingness to take on his man on the dribble, and he felt like Juve's only reliable way to create for the majority of the match. They took off him, and then Kenan Yildiz, who were the players who I checked at that moment. They had played the most passes into the final third along with Cambiasso. They were the top three Juve players, passes into the final third when they came off. So all of a sudden, and this relates back to Taylor, where you were saying, like, there was energy from Juve of maybe trying, some to try and sort of impart some urgency in their play. They just couldn't do it because they'd taken all the players off that were capable of doing that. So they had these forwards on, but they weren't getting any service at all. So yeah, I'm not having the tactical masterclass thing.
That's fair. It's like a car rolling down the hill in neutral and you're like revving the engine. It's like no matter how much you press that gas pedal down, no matter how loud that engine goes, you're still just kind of gently rolling down the hill. That was Juve for large stretches of this one. I
had a friend in high school who gave the impression of running really fast because his arms would go like that. His arms would go furiously. And then after a while I'd realise, Ewan is just slow. Like, he's so slow. It's all an illusion. That was
you name-checked him as well, Graham. You've been embarrassed him there. Oh, there's only one Ewan in Scotland as well.
Oh, Ewan,
yeah, it's identifiable.
It's Logan Roy's brother, I believe.
Yeah.
We don't need to spend too much more time on this game giving our thoughts on it. I did enjoy Igor Tudor's pre-match press conference, the quote he gave about Luka Modric. They played together, by the way. Igor Tudor is 47. I suppose it does make it's not too wild.
Did they actually?
They've crossed generations. Igor Tudor. His quote: "I played with Modric. He's made history for our nation. There will be no one like him. I'm proud of him. Hopefully he sucks tomorrow," was the way he finished that quote, which I enjoyed very much indeed. But yeah, that cross-generational thing where, active player and manager who you think is a lot older than he is
Croatia. Yeah, they must have done. Yeah. Wow, that's actually blown my mind a little bit. I didn't know that. Yeah. That's a good one.
Fun times. Anyway, elsewhere in Serie A, we got Napoli back at the top of the table. They got a 2-1 win over Genoa. Rasmus Højlund.
He's back.
He's back again with the winner in this one. No Kevin De Bruyne in the starting 11. He came on later in this one. A win for Roma as well. So basically all of Juve and Milan's opponents got wins this weekend. Roma won as well. A 2-1 away win at Fiorentina. A comeback win that was. Inter with a 4-1 win over Cremonese as well. Do you know who came off the bench, Taylor, for Cremonese and was involved in the consolation goal?
Was it a young Jameson Vardy?
It was him.
Party?
The very same. Yeah.
I'm still reeling from this Igor Tudor claim. I have questions. Is all I'm saying. I think he stops playing for Croatia in 2006, and I think that's when Luka Modric gets his first start for Croatia or makes his debut for the Croatia senior team. Mm-hmm. I don't know. Maybe there was overlap. I feel like maybe there's some fudging of details here.
Take it up with Igor Tudor, not me.
I will. All right.
Yeah.
See you guys in a bit.
All right. Catch you later. We'll take a break while Taylor goes and hashes it out with Igor Tudor. When we come back, we're going to talk Bundesliga. We're going to see what went up with Barcelona this weekend as well. Much more. Join us then. Total Soccer Show, welcome back to our weekend review. We take a jaunt over to Spain now, specifically Seville, where Sevilla had a 4-1 win over Barcelona. Goodness me. Robert Lewandowski missing a second-half penalty for Barca that could have got them back into it after Marcus Rashford had scored a lovely left-footed volley in first-half stoppage time. By the way, Marcus Rashford got the MVP, the Player of the Match award in this game. He did score that goal. His team lost 4-1. Just to remind everybody, this is why you don't have fans vote for player of the match, in my view. Anyway, Graham,
they could have given it to another former Manchester United player because Alexis Sanchez is really good in this match. So
he did open the scoring for Sevilla, did he not?
He did, and for Barcelona, this obviously capped a concerning week for them, where a lot of the issues that they had towards the end of last season, they've come to the fore again in the last couple of matches. First, there's the home loss to PSG in the Champions League. At least PSG are PSG. That's excusable. This, however, ended up being a complete embarrassment for Barcelona. And, maybe 4-1 flattered Sevilla slightly. But broadly speaking, they were well worth the win. And the thing that Sevilla really picked up from last season was how to time the runs to get in behind the Barcelona back line, the infamous or famous, whichever way you want to look at it, high line from Hansi Flick. I remember at the start of last season, do you remember that Clásico that Barcelona and Real Madrid played and Kylian Mbappe got caught offside about 120 times in that match? That was very common at the start of last season because teams just saw the high line and they were trying to get the forwards in as quickly as possible. But then teams started to work out that if you send the runs from deep, you have better chance of getting into that space of timing the runs. And that's what Sevilla did time and time again in this game. They had this little routine where they would play the ball to the feet of the player in the forward line. They would then pin the Barcelona defender because obviously they're there to close them down. And then there would be an untracked runner from deep and away they go. And then that runner would then cut the ball back for Sanchez or Isaac Romero in the box. That just continually worked for Sevilla right up until the last moments of this game where Barcelona get caught out twice in the last 10 minutes when it becomes 4-1. And that Barcelona defence is just a bit of a mess at the moment. And some of that is down to injuries. I think they're badly missing Alex Balde at left back. Gerard Martin, he's a tough watch at the moment, to be honest, and he probably rues not having a bit more protection in front of him with Rafinha being out right now. I highlighted that after the PSG game. I do think Barcelona are missing him. But yeah, Gerard Martin, he's struggling. Joan Garcia as well, after a really good start as Barcelona's new first choice goalkeeper. He's out injured, so the chain smoker himself, Chesney, he's back in goals. And I think Barcelona are also missing Inigo Martinez, who joins really late and unexpectedly in the window, goes to Al Nassr in Saudi Arabia. And he was such a good partner for Pau Cubarsí because he's just like a natural defender with good defensive instincts and does the basics really well. And now it's for most of the time it's Ronald Araujo, and Cubarsí just seems unsettled this season. He hasn't been the same player. So yeah, Barcelona were a bit of a mess in this game, but Sevilla very, very impressive and made the most of their opportunities.
There you go. I didn't realise Chesney was in the Chainsmokers, by the way. They do a great job of doing the same song over and over again.
Graham, does this continue our trend of Diego Cocan probably makes Barcelona better as a starter?
I have no idea, Taylor, because we've never seen him play. He's one of these. He's an abstract. That's what I was looking forward to the U20 World Cup, to actually see this guy play. But yeah, we still don't know. He's an abstract concept, but perhaps, who knows?
Time will tell, or maybe it won't. We shall see. So that put Barcelona 2 points behind Real Madrid at the top of the table. Real Madrid with a 3-1 win over Villarreal. Vinny Jr. with a brace and Kylian Mbappe getting on the score sheet as well. Villarreal ending with 10 men. So go Madrid. Yeah, good stuff.
I watched this game on Saturday night. I've watched a lot of Real Madrid this season. I might have watched every single game they've played. I have no idea if they're any good because so many of their matches are like this, where it feels like they're playing in second or third gear and then Mbappe scores and they win the game. I will say Vinicius Jr. was great in this game, probably his best performance of the season so far. But yeah, Real Madrid, just difficult to get a read on at the moment because they have had a favourable start to the season. And the one big test that they had, they got thumped in the derby by Atletico Madrid. So, yeah, the jury's still out on Real Madrid. I need to see more to know how good they actually are.
Is the jury still out on Atleti, Graham? They and Celta Vigo had a 1-1 draw this weekend as well. They're down in 5th. They've had 4 draws out of 8 games so far, Atleti, this season.
Yeah, not great. I mean, Simeone has gone back to basics, gone back to his 4-4-2. He's using the front two of, and actually a lot of games it's been Alvarez and Sorloth, but Griezmann as well is playing a role. And they've gone back to the kind of Koke and Barrios central midfield and Marcus Llorente making up a lot of ground on the right side. But it's still a team that has failed to evolve when that was promised in the summer. So I do expect more results like this from Atleti throughout the season.
Great. All right, very good. Let's go to Germany, shall we? And checking on the Bundesliga. Oh, wow. It says here that Bayern Munich got a win. That seems crazy.
Yeah.
What is crazy, though, Taylor? It was at Eintracht Frankfurt, a 3-0 win at Eintracht Frankfurt. This is the first Eintracht Frankfurt game that didn't have 4 or more goals in it this season. Very disappointing. There was only 3. One of which was Harry Kane's 11th goal of the season, the first ever Bully player to get that tally after 6 games. And also, there's some angles of this shot that this goalie had, where you can see what I called swaz on it, so the outside of the boot curl that it gets on it. It looks like it's going wide until it doesn't. Beautiful strike. Very nice.
Do you dislike him less now?
I don't dislike Harry Kane.
I mean,
what did you read a Bayern Munich show?
By the way, we got dug out on that last week in a YouTube comment, and they were complaining about, I presume it was an English football fan, typical Yanks not giving Harry Kane the credit he deserves. I was like, it was the Englishman. It was one of your own.
Yeah, he deserves the credit, man. Harry Kane is incredible this season, as Ryan said. Top scorer in the Bundesliga with 11 goals. Joint second would be Luis Diaz of Bayern and Jean Ozun of Frankfurt. They have 5 goals each. So Harry Kane strolling towards the Golden Boot in this one. Bayern Munich continuing their trend of scoring a lot of goals while simultaneously helping Eintracht continue their trend of conceding a lot of goals, regardless of what Ryan says. I'm going to say 3 goals against is still plenty. Frankfurt still have a +1 goal difference, which was surprising to me. Although I guess maybe that's due in no small part to the number of goals they tend to score for themselves.
They've conceded 16 and scored 17. So, yeah, that's wild for this stage of the season.
They're doing all right. It's fun. It's fun times. Leipzig and Freiburg are the only 2 teams in the top half of the table with a worse goal difference. They're at 0, respectively. Bayern extended their lead at the top of the Bundesliga to 4 points. Dortmund and Leipzig battled to a 1-1 draw. It was exactly the game that I hoped it might not be, similar to that game between Juve and Milan. Neither team in this one looking like they had the difference maker needed. It wasn't as controlled as the Serie counterpart, but it didn't really captivate in the way that I hoped it might have. So credit to Bayern for getting their routine win. Leverkusen kept their momentum under Kasper Hjulmand with a 2-0 win over Union Berlin. Eric Ten Hag's former employers have now made it 3 wins, 3 draws in their last 6 matches, or their first 6 matches under the Dane, I should say. And there's some really good moments in this one. Alex Garcia has the assist for the opener, if people haven't seen it. And he kind of spots the opportunity developing, moves, like shifts maybe 5 yards over and 10 yards up, so makes that kind of diagonal shift, and then receives the cutback from Poku, and first time lets it go across him and then hits it first time diagonally through for Lucas Vazquez to run on. Vazquez then plays it in for Poku to finish. Poku started the move with a 50-yard run. So some really good individual work there. Less good individual work from Union goalkeeper Frederick Ronno, who, if people haven't seen, whatever mistake you might make this week, listener, it will not be as bad as this mistake. Ronno basically straight up passes it to Leverkusen striker Christian Kufane, who takes a touch around him and passes it into the goal. It's a pretty brutal error to make. but a good win for Leverkusen. So there's that. Bottom half Augsburg are no longer bottom 3 Augsburg after they earned a massive 3-1 win over Wolfsburg, thereby dropping Mainz into the relegation playoff spot. Gladbach sits 17th after their rain-soaked 0-0 draw with Freiburg, and Heidenheim still at the bottom of the table in the Bundesliga.
Danke, Taylor. Ganz gut. All right, listener. You may have noticed we only did one Premier League game in this Weekend Review. Want to hear the rest of them? Weekend Review Extras, where you're going to head. Patreon.com/Total Soccer Show to do so. Also, hey, Kylian Mbappe's brother scored in a PSG game this weekend. Let's learn more about that on the extra feed as well. Interesting times ahead.
Yeah, Ethan making a name for himself. But not so much that you know who he is. But
yeah. Does he have a mustache? Is it Kylian Mbappe with a mustache?
With glasses on. Yeah.
Monsieur Incognito is his name.
One of those. It's one of those. You know those glassy sets with the big plastic nose and then the mustache underneath. It's one of those. It's
classic.
The whole thing.
Yeah. Well, let's learn more about that on the bonus feed. But for now, Taylor Rockwell, thank you very much indeed for weekend reviewing with us.
My pleasure, my friend. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Graham Ruthven.
Thank you, Ryan Bailey.
And thank you the mostest, listener. We appreciate you. We'll be back on this feed very shortly. But for now, bye.